Hello and welcome to the week ahead from hot and sunny California. This week I'm going to be talking to you a bit about the lull that typically comes in the market at this point in the year, and then the subsequent rally that happens. And my real question is the Santa rally real? Because I'm looking at where we are in the market right now on the daily time frame. I'll just hide all my drawings for a second. And as you can see, we have a potential daily lower high set here on the Qs. SPY is pushing all-time highs, and until we get a confirmed daily downtrend, nothing's going to change, right? But there are signs there that we could see a rollover sometime soon. We did lose the daily EMA 12 as a rider. We've now been going up and down, above and below it. And so that's one sign that things are starting to turn. Now we see the potential of here's a high, higher low, higher low, potential lower high, and now we could be rolling over. And we also have some of the underpinnings of what keeps the QQQ really strong, which is semis, starting to show some signs of weakness after NVIDIA earnings. And so I look at all of this and think to myself, okay, well, it makes a lot of sense to have a rollover. And my big question is, I don't think, well, if you just zoom out to the monthly time frame, let's do that. I think the most likely scenario after this massive rally is a monthly higher low. And if you even look on the weekly time frame, the most likely scenario is a weekly higher low. And so I don't think that a rollover is a bad thing. I think it would actually be a very healthy thing for the market to have, and it could be even a significant rollover before another subsequent rally. It could even be the kind of rollover or consolidation where it doesn't actually go very deep. It just sort of chops sideways for a long time, allowing these longer term time frame moving averages like the 200 to catch up with it, so that there's not such a giant space here between where price is today and that 200 moving average. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of crazy drawings I want to show you today. So one of the things that I've been looking at is the Santa rally real? And to figure this out, I zoomed out a little bit over the past few years, and I started to draw some stuff on the screen. And really what I wanted to see was, is the time frame of September, the full month of September, and then from the end of September through to December, is that typically over the last number of years that you see a time when you see a dip in September and then a rally through the end of the year? And so let's take a look at what I found. Okay, so lots of good stuff on here. So the pink bars here are September, and the green range is basically October through December. And as you can see, I went and the pink doesn't necessarily mean that it was a downtime. I'm just highlighting the time that is supposed to be down, and then highlighting the time that is supposed to be green. And then what I did for these checks is I said, let's take a look at each one. So let's go look at this one. So here's September, which was completely down back here in 2020. And then we did get a rally up through the end of the year this is the last day in December. And then here, this is 2021. We did drop in September, and we did get a rally in through December. That sort of topped out at the end of that year, if you remember that. And then the next year in 2022, we were dropping in September, and then we did get a bit of a rally, but then we lost it all before the end of the year, which basically, I think that marked the bottom. Yeah, it did mark the bottom. And then we began rallying in 2023. So I put an X on this because it didn't end in a high, but we did see a rally. And then here is the 2023. So just a slight, I wouldn't even call this a dump. This is more like sideways range trading. And we did drop further in October and then rallied through the end of the year. And then here, this is last year, 2024. We actually rallied through September. We got a bit of a drop in the beginning, but not as deep as the one we had in August. And we rallied and continued to rally through the end of the year. And now here we are at this, what looks like it could be a peak here at the beginning of September in 2025. So, I look at this and I'm like, is it real? Is this a thing I can expect to happen? And I'm a little suspect of all of these things. I just look at it and I think to myself, this doesn't look like a thing that's for sure going to happen at this time. It just looks like the regular pattern of an uptrending market. Like a bull market is going to have downs and it's going to have ups. And if you give it enough time, it's going to ultimately, resolve to the higher prices because it's in a bullish trend. And so the only time that didn't really work was here when we were actually in a daily and weekly and monthly downtrend in 2022. Every other time it worked, but that's because we were in a daily, weekly, monthly uptrend. And so I don't know that you can trust that the Santa rally is going to happen. I think you shouldn't call it the Santa rally. You should just call it the bullish market. And so I look at where we are right now, and I'm like, I wouldn't be comfortable buying in for new highs unless we got a pullback in September. That's how I'm feeling about it right now. I think right now I'm very actively day trading. I'm not actively swing trading. I'm trying a few things here and there, but only in individual stocks, certainly not on the ETFs. Because to me, it looks a little bit more like it's rounding. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out here was there's some more lines I drew on here. You see, I've got this a circle here and a line to 1 year, circle and a line to 7 months. So what I'm doing there is I'm highlighting when was the last time we were daily oversold. So this circle implies we were daily oversold back here in March of 2020. Then it was 5 months until we got to this bottom here, which was close to, didn't quite get to daily oversold, but that was a full year before we even got close to daily oversold in that rally in 2020, 2021. We got close again here, didn't count that. And then here, we finally got daily oversold. At the top of this rally, we got daily oversold. It was 1 year and 7 months to that point. And between when we hit this bottom and touched here, and then almost touched here, and then again here, we had 5 daily overboughts, 4 daily overboughts, 1 daily overbought here. So then the next time we got daily oversold was here. It was 4 months later. We only had 1 daily overbought between. Then we had no daily overboughts this whole way down. And then finally got daily oversold 8 months later, and that basically marked the bottom. Next, we had 7 daily overboughts on the way up to our next daily oversold, which happened a year later. 6 months to the next one after 4 daily overboughts on the way up. And now we've had, it's been a year to this point here back where we set the tariff bottom. We had 5 daily overboughts before we got another daily oversold. And actually on the way down here, we got 2. You see, I circled it like this because right here, this was daily oversold. And then we basically doubled that distance and hit daily oversold again after a brief rally. And then finally, here we are now. We've been rallying ever since we hit that crazy bottom, the tariff bottom. We've hit daily overbought 4 times on the way up here. And I'm just counting the dots here that mark daily overbought. So that's 4 times from this bottom to this top that we're currently at near all-time highs. It's been 5 months since the last daily oversold. And we are currently on the daily time frame flirting with the 50% retrace of RSI. Daily oversold being a value of 30 or lower. And so I look at this as like, yeah, I mean, it just makes sense that we should be seeing a pullback sometime soon. When are we going to see daily oversold? I don't know. But I'm always looking for daily oversold on sector ETFs, on big name, like high quality, high value companies as places to buy in. I bought the dip here in SPY and QQQ and others when we hit daily oversold at the tariff bottom, and I'm still holding those positions now. And my plan is on daily oversold to buy more. And so I'm always thinking about when is daily oversold going to come, because it's got to happen sometime, and it doesn't need to happen with a fresh low, right? Like daily oversold, look at all these daily oversolds we had. Since we hit this bottom here, every daily oversold has been higher than the last one until, even this one, it just touched that level, right? Like this tariff bottom basically tied with that one. So we still haven't set a lower daily, higher low, daily oversold. And so I'm looking for that to happen again somewhere up in here, right? I think we're going to get daily oversold sometime within the next, I'll give a wide range, 6 to 12 months, but probably sooner. We're going to get daily oversold, and I'm going to be interested in a buy. And that's not a blind buy. I play price action, but I bought this dip here. I sold some of it there. I did not stop out. I let it just roll through, and I bought more down here. And that paid off really, really well, as you can see. And so I'm looking forward to doing that again. And I'm trying to think about when could this happen that we get the rollover. And so one of the things that I've been learning a lot about is anchored VWAP. And I read Brian Shannon's book on anchored VWAP. You should read it if you haven't read it. It is really, really helpful. And I'm looking at from the tariff bottom, I put an anchored VWAP from this bottom, and I see it's marked green. It says tariff bottom. One of the things that happens on the way up, so the volume weighted average price from this point, the only time it was ever touched after this bottom was here. And then it never got touched again on this whole way up. And so I dropped an anchor point, a fresh anchor point on that higher low there, and that's called a handoff. And so from that handoff, it starts floating up, and you see how price stayed above it, and then here it almost touched it again. So and then it never even got close again. So I put another handoff point there, and I'm watching that one. It went up, and then here it came close again, and it never got close to this anchored VWAP again. So I do another handoff there, and then it hit it there, and it never touched it again. So there's another handoff there. That hit that new one there, and here, and now that's 2 touches on it, and we're going to see, is it going to continue to float away, and are we going to do a new handoff here, or is it going to come back and roll over and break through the handoff? Because they can't just keep handing off forever. At some point, the larger time frame, in this case above the daily, the weekly time frame, the monthly time frame, whatever, needs to do a retracement. That's a healthy thing to do, and so they're going to break through these handoffs eventually, and they might even go below this bottom anchored VWAP down lower into here somewhere, right? It's bound to happen at some point. This is going to keep drifting up, and at some point, the price is going to come back over and test it or go through it and then bounce up again, and we'll have a new bottom that we want to anchor from. And so I want to show you what that looks like, so we can have some sense of like, what is it going to look like when this thing does roll over? And so I got another one here. I'm going to zoom in on it, And I'm just taking this example, which is just like a daily stair step, right? This daily stair step on smaller time frames was a point. There was an anchor from this bottom that then was handed off over and over again on this whole move up. So let's go take a look at that. I have this dynamite stick here. I'm going to jump down to the hourly time frame, and we'll do this one so we can see what it looked like. Okay, so this is the hourly time frame of the QQQs. Here's the top of that dynamite stick where that daily stair step ended up breaking. And so from this bottom, let's drop an anchor. This was basically the bottom of the anchor here. Okay, so we dipped below, and then this was all after hours trading here. So I'm going to say that the bottom was like here somewhere. So let's drop another anchor here. This is the last time it was touched on the way up, right about there. Okay, so here it touched, came close, and then here it was away. This, I wouldn't even count this because it happened after hours. And I mean, honestly, since we're playing with VWAPs, I shouldn't even have extended hours on, but I'm not going to change the chart right now because volume, there's low volume in the after hours. But let's just say it was this one. No, that one held. Let's go here. Try this one. There it is. Okay, so then here it touched and then was not able to get close to it again. So this would be the next handoff here. Right there. And you see it couldn't get it, finally got it, right? And then here tried to go higher and then could not get above this high. And then we start retracing through it. And if you zoom right out, the very lowest anchored VWAP that we got on this bottom after that huge daily stair step up, it did get violated and it did go lower, right? And so it's just bound to happen. It's just a healthy thing to do. And if you just look at this from like a TA perspective and pull a fib from like the bottom here to the top, the retracement was 50% on this move up. And that's, I mean, not an ideal retracement. A 382 would be super bullish, but it's fine. A 50% retracement is totally healthy. At that point, you could have expected some sideways action, but it just actually carried on up. But and look where it retraced to if you zoom out a little bit. So the bottom that it hit here was basically the top of this first balance from this low. And so there's other things that you can play, but my whole point is if you look at these anchored VWAPs, it can teach you to think a little more deeply, like what are going to be the signs that you see when that rollover eventually comes, and you can think about where is the volume weighted average price of the move up, and where did it keep extending further and further and getting more and more extended. And that's what these handoffs show you. And when you finally start pulling back and it can't keep handing off, that's the sign that the top is near. And so let's take a look now at what it looks like right now again. So here was the tariff bottom. Here was the first handoff, another handoff, another handoff, another handoff. And now we're touching the handoff again. We're touching the handoff again. We're not below the handoff yet. We're not below that handoff yet. To me, that's the sign that if we get below that handoff, then that is a surefire sign that we are getting near a top. How far is the retracement going to be? I have no idea. None at all. It could be that we just continue sideways for a while. It could be that we have a nice deep pull in. I don't know. But the point is that the upside potential is limited once we start to violate that handoff, in my opinion. So I'm looking at the chart right now and I'm thinking about the week ahead. It's a short week. It's a holiday week. We've got, this was the last daily higher low I marked off here, which happens to be basically below the handoff level that I'm talking about. So if we pull in and we break below that handoff this week, however we do it, if we come back down and do this sort of thing, and this line starts to go like this, and we're testing it now, we're staying below it, you know you're going to go down, you're going to break through these other handoffs, you're going to find some bottom. That's when you start looking left, looking where are the gaps that we made on the way up, where could we start to fill gaps, where would be a good place to catch tops and bottoms, look at volume profile, look at where the high volume nodes were on the way up, figure out how you want to do it. But that's going to be the sign to me that we are finally going to have some amount of retracement, which is healthy. And when we have the retracement, I'm watching RSI. I'm hoping and praying for an opportunity to hit daily oversold again. I think daily oversold is a level that a lot of people watch and they look for buying opportunities there. And so I certainly will be. I won't be blindly buying. I'll be waiting for some sort of confirmation that bottoms are in as well. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that along the way. But this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm hoping for. And we'll see. We might just continue to drift up. I'm not predicting that we're going to roll over this week. I'm just saying this is what I'm watching. These will be the signs that show me what's happening. And that's it. Now, so if we break that daily higher, the last daily higher low here on Qs at 558.84, I'm going to be looking for some amount of consolidation. And I think that's probably all we need to say about the week ahead. That's what I'm watching. I will say that the real sign, the real thing that is showing me that there might be a rollover actually happening is NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is also in this situation where it's got this top that it's hitting. And you can see there's multiple touches here on the 4-hour time frame over and over again at this 184.48 level, 184.50, let's call it. So we had earnings this last week, and then we dropped after earnings. We have not yet broken through this the dip low, I'm calling it, that happened before earnings. I think in order for there to be significant Hughes retracement, we need to see continued weakness in NVIDIA. And I see a couple of different scenarios playing out here. You can see what they are. So one of them here is, from maybe on Monday, or sorry, on Tuesday when we come back from the holiday, we actually just like bounce and it's at a higher low and continue up. And if that's the case, we're going to see this 50-day moving average continue to trend up. That's this line here. But it could happen that we don't get that. Maybe if we're going to actually roll over, we will break through this low. That's going to be the sign I'm looking for. And then then we could set a lower high somewhere up here, and then this 50-day could roll over. As soon if we break below that 50-day, that's kind of a sign. It's a signal. The first time you break below the 50 doesn't mean you're going to just tank, but there'll be some balance, maybe some lower highs, and it could start to roll over. I think that NVIDIA is a healthy stock. It's a strong stock. Just like this rollover here happened, we could see something similar happening again. Or we could just do, it's always this. It's either going to be we continue to the upside, we have a decent pull in, and there's some good buying opportunities longer term, or we just continue sideways. And because that's the other thing that could happen here is we could just do this. Right? Like we could just continue sideways for a while. And if that happens, what's going to happen to these moving averages. They're going to start to flatten out. And as that happens, 200 days is going to catch up. And once it's caught up, then there's, you could have another break to the upside. So I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that the signs are there that the market could need a bit of rest. We are in that seasonal time of year where typically, as you saw, there's because we're in a generally uptrending market, there tends to be rallies into the end of the year, and at least there has been over the last 5-6 years. And we're now at the spot where we could get a bit of relief before that occurs. So that's what I'm watching for. We'll see what happens. There's no crystal ball. It's just what I'm thinking about and prepared for. Getting plans around, what sort of stocks am I looking at to buy if we do get a dip? Where do I want to buy them? What am I going to be looking for? What size am I going to use? A lot of planning that is going into my thinking right now rather than active trading. Active trading day to day, I'm just doing short-term intraday trades. I'm not really looking for big moves, and trying to take my money as I can get it. Now, it is Sunday, August 31st, and I'm traveling next weekend. I am traveling the weekend after that as well. So I don't know when I'm going to be posting another week ahead video. It might be 3 weeks from now when you get the first one. If that happens, I'll probably find some time during the week to post some updates, not week ahead videos, but just sort of mid-week updates. We'll see how it goes. Until then, good luck out there, and, well, happy trading. Hey, if you like my indicators on TradingView and you like the content I'm producing here on this channel, please remember to like and subscribe.